Man named Kevin Garner emerges from a lake in a terrible state and swims ashore. Through narration, he reveals that this is not his world, and he is trying to find his way home. He dries himself off and starts walking, but as he is walking, he presses a device on his wrist and vanishes into thin air. Flashback to some time earlier, Kevin is a hedge fund manager who has just learned that the housing market has collapsed and his company is shutting down, firing all its employees. After learning this devastating news, Kevin, who is a recovering alcoholic, decides to drop his sobriety and drown his sorrows in booze. He arrives at a hotel bar and orders a drink, but before he can take a single sip, a woman named Molly approaches him. Molly reveals that her friends have dared her to come talk to Kevin and get him to ask her out. Kevin entertains this situation, and the two start flirting. Kevin asks how they are going to proceed from here, and Molly outlines their whole life from their first date to fifth date to making dinner and going to church together, all the way to when they are married and things are starting to fall apart, because that is just how life is. Kevin pushes his drink away and says that normally he would agree with her, but right now, the worst thing that could ever happen to him has happened. And yet, as he is sitting here with her, none of that seems to matter. This line lands really well. He asks her to have tea with him, and she agrees. Next, years later, Kevin and Molly are married. However, their marriage has been falling apart ever since their son Daniel's disappearance, which has left both of them in a terrible mental state. Kevin arrives at his miserable job where his young boss hates him because he blames people like Kevin for his parents losing their house. As Kevin is headed home from work, he calls Molly and apologizes for his behavior lately. He says that he just misses Daniel so much. Molly asks him if he's paid the bills and he gets angry, pointing out that he's at work all day so he can't possibly pay the bills. As he is distracted in his anger, his car meets a terrible accident with a truck. Next, Kevin is dragged out of his car by an unknown man, and he passes out again. The second time he wakes up, he is in an alleyway, and the man is still there. The man introduces himself as the benefactor and says he has a job to offer Kevin. Kevin is confused and tries to go back to his car, but as he reaches the road, neither his car nor anyone else's is there. The whole town is completely deserted. Kevin asks the man where everyone went, and he says that they didn't go anywhere. Kevin did. Kevin gets mad and threatens the man, but he just laughs and says that their meetings usually don't go like this. Kevin is confused and says that he's never met the man before. The man invites Kevin to join him for dinner. Kevin is hesitant, but wanting an explanation for what is going on, he agrees. As Kevin and the benefactor arrive in a cafe, it appears that everyone there is terrified of the benefactor. While conversing with the benefactor, Kevin realizes that he is actually Satan. The benefactor says that he's never met a religious version of Kevin, and Kevin asks what he means by that. He reveals that the multiverse theory is correct, and there are countless Kevins existing in countless universes, and new ones spawn every time he is faced with a choice. He further reveals that he has the ability to shift people from one universe to another and replace them with their alternate version from the other universe. That is why there was no one present outside, because they are no longer present in Kevin's original universe. The benefactor reveals that when people disagree on how an event took place, it's not because they see it from their own perspectives and biases, it's because he replaces them with their doppelgangers, who have actually seen a different version of the event. For example, Molly expected Kevin to pay the bills today, even though he never promised to do that, because the benefactor shifted the original Molly to another universe, and this Molly's Kevin promised he would pay the bills. Kevin is shocked. The benefactor explains that these simplest disagreements are enough to create complete and utter chaos. Kevin does not believe him, and the benefactor says that he replaced the original Molly quite some time ago when Kevin gave her a special pendant. In disbelief, Kevin says that Molly just stopped wearing that, but the benefactor reveals that the original Molly never did. Outraged, Kevin demands that he prove he can shift people by shifting someone in the restaurant, like their waitress, Tina. As the benefactor is about to do this, Tina and her parents seem distraught, and Kevin has a change of heart. However, it is too late, and Tina disappears right in front of them. The benefactor says that generally he would replace Tina with a doppelganger from another universe, but Kevin would not believe that. So he had to send Tina to a universe where she does not exist at all. However, this has a terrible effect on the shifted person's psyche. Kevin cannot believe what he's done. Kevin asks the benefactor what he wants, and he says that shifting is a big job, and he can't do it alone. He has shifters strategically located in all universes doing his work for him, and he wants Kevin to be one. Kevin says that he will not do such evil work, but the benefactor replies that he already has many versions of Kevin from different universes working for him. Hence, he will eventually give in too. Kevin sits down and starts praying to God, and this catches the benefactor by surprise. At first he laughs, but when Kevin doesn't stop, he becomes enraged. He yells at Kevin, but Kevin continues praying, and eventually he disappears. Kevin apologizes to Tina's family and leaves. Next, 5 years pass with Kevin stuck in this universe, and he learns that here the entire Earth is under a totalitarian regime set up by the benefactor himself. The people of this Earth were tearing themselves apart with war and conflict, and then the shifters arrived, working in secret, shifting all problematic figures like politicians and pastors away so that peace could be established. The shifters did this using devices on their wrists called deviators. After this, the benefactor arrived and remade this world in his image, full of fear, distrust, and a complete lack of faith. The people live in miserable conditions with no hope or dreams, but Kevin is always on the lookout for some glimmers in all the darkness. Kevin now lives under a fake name because he is a wanted man for his illegal prayer in the cafe 5 years ago. The benefactor has not returned to this universe ever since. Kevin spends his time working a menial job to be able to afford food. He also writes whatever he can remember of the Bible from memory and secretly distributes it among people because the scripture is completely illegal on this earth. He has one friend from work named Gabriel who helps him, and the two are secretly looking for a shifter so that Kevin can steal his deviator and go back to his own universe. Gabriel tries to convince Kevin from time to time that perhaps God has given up on him, because it's been 5 years that he's been living in these miserable conditions. However, Kevin continues to have faith. Next, Kevin arrives at a special cinema in which people can view alternate universe versions of themselves. The owner of the cinema, Russo, is Kevin's friend. He explains that before people liked to see versions of themselves who were living better and live vicariously through them, but now they just want to see versions of themselves doing worse so that they can feel better. All of Kevin's alternate versions are terrible people doing horrible things, but in one universe he sees Molly, and he is ecstatic. Russo says that it's highly unusual for someone to be able to see another person's alternate universes, and Kevin takes it as a sign from God. Next, a protest is going on because a bridge is blocked by the police, and suddenly, a man runs through and disappears into thin air. People thought shifters had left this planet along with the benefactor, but it is revealed that they are still here. Kevin now has hope that he can find a deviator. Next, Kevin sees a woman leaving her child unattended at a grocery store and remembers that this is how he and Molly lost their son. This triggers a downward spiral in which he remembers how he and Molly slowly drifted apart because he believed that their son was still alive somewhere, but she just wanted to grieve. He desperately looks for alcohol in a garbage can and finds some, but before he can sip it, his neighbor Rajit invites him for dinner. During dinner, it is revealed that Rajit and his family know who he really is, and Rajit asks him to teach the Bible to his daughters. Kevin sits them down and tells them the story of Job, who lost his family, his wealth, and his health at the hands of the devil. But because his faith in God never wavered, he was given back twice of what he lost. Next, an announcement is made on TV that the benefactor has returned to this universe, and the purpose of the visit is to once again try and convince another Kevin to become a shifter. Kevin goes to the cinema once more to see if he'll come across Molly's alternate universe versions, and while Russo doubts it, it happens again. This time he gets to browse through all of Molly's alternate selves. There is one who is a nurse and a single parent, one who is a teacher, and finally one who appears to be a therapist, and she is wearing the pendant Kevin gave her. Kevin realizes that this is his own original Molly because the benefactor said she never stopped wearing that necklace. He is overjoyed. Russo is shocked. Kevin asks which universe she is in, but Russo says it's pointless to try and figure it out because he doesn't even have a deviator. Kevin realizes that he only knows the exact location of one deviator right now, which is on the wrist of the benefactor. He decides to steal it. For this purpose, he has Gabriel find him a gun. Gabriel warns him that trying to take on the devil with just a gun is a bad idea, but Kevin does not listen. The next day, the benefactor arrives with another Kevin to recruit him. Original Kevin tries to enter the restaurant with the gun, but when he passes through the door, he just ends up in his own room. He tries this several times, but with the same result, eventually getting shot in the shoulder in the process. Kevin gets frustrated and begs God to help at least a little. Just then, the benefactor arrives in the room and steals Kevin's gun. He makes Gabriel appear and asks if this is his gun. Gabriel says that he doesn't even know Kevin. The benefactor laughs at how quickly the people are willing to sell Kevin out, the very people that he is trying to save with his Bible pages. He points out that God helped him once and then left him on his own for the next 5 years to suffer. He would not do that. If Kevin still accepts his deal, he will take care of Kevin forever. Kevin asks him where his son is and demands to know if he shifted him. The benefactor doesn't answer, but instead he says that Kevin is not a good person, just like all his other versions, and he will prove it. He asks Kevin to look outside. Kevin discovers that the police have shot Rajit just for knowing him, and then the police come after him. They shoot up his room, and Gabriel is killed. As he falls to the ground, Kevin sees a deviator on his wrist and realizes that he is a shifter. He grabs the device and shifts to a different universe where he falls in a lake. After this, he shifts again and ends up in a psych ward where he is chased by other versions of Gabriel. He encounters Tina, the waitress at the psych ward, and drowns in guilt as he realizes that he condemned her to this fate. But before he can apologize, Gabriel's arrive and he shifts again. This time he ends up in the house of a mob boss, alternate version of himself, who tries to shoot him and take his deviator, but he escapes. Finally, he returns to his room to find Rajit being loaded into an ambulance. Next, the police spot Kevin and chase after him as he rushes to the cinema. He finds the original Molly, and Russo gives him the coordinates to her universe. At last, Kevin arrives in her universe and faces her. He tells her he loves her more than anything in existence and apologizes for not giving her room to grieve their son. He says that they can get back together, but Molly says that he is the one who ended things. Kevin realizes that in this universe, he might have done that. He gives a big speech about how the two of them can make it work in any reality, and in any universe, them being together is all that makes sense to him. The speech moves Molly, but before Kevin can finish, the benefactor arrives and takes him back. He reveals that he's known everything Kevin has been doing for the last 5 years. Once again, to prove that this Kevin is no different from all the other Kevins, he gives him a choice. He can either reunite Tina with her family in this universe or reunite himself with Molly. Kevin takes a while considering this choice, and the benefactor says that just because Kevin wants Molly does not make it the wrong choice. Kevin says that he is nothing but a liar, and he angrily responds that he is not a liar. God is the liar. He says that God claims he cares, protects, and forgives, but if he truly did, why would he let the devil do such horrible things so freely? Why would he allow this world to become the dark mess that it is? He says God has abandoned them. Kevin says that even in this dark mess, the worst of places, he's seen beauty and hope, and that makes it more clear to him than ever that God exists. He chooses Tina, and in his heart, says goodbye to Molly. The benefactor is enraged and tries to kill Kevin, but just then, a bright light is seen and Kevin disappears. He wakes up in the bathroom of a restaurant with not a scratch on him and comes out to see Molly sitting alone at the bar. It is revealed to be the single-parent nurse, Molly. Kevin approaches her and uses the same line that she used when she first approached him on a dare. He asks her out, and she agrees, eventually leading to the two getting married. Kevin goes on to an incredibly happy life with Molly and their 2 children, a daughter and a son. Just like Job, God has given him twice what he lost to reward his faith. The end. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like our channel and subscribe if you enjoy content like this. Also, Let us know what movie you would love us to recap for you.